Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome. Welcome to Sharing the Three Principles with Jim Beck. And me, your host, Grundy Atsani, would like to thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing your wonderful presence with us. This series with Jim Beck is going to be very special and very, very unique. It's a 5-episode, 5-week series with Jim Beck. And each episode will have a new topic. Sharing mind, sharing thought, sharing consciousness, sharing relationship, and sharing with seniors. In each episode, we will play special tips by Sydney Banks and Dreama Odom. Jim will tell you more about her. And in the last 2 episodes, episode number 4 and 5, we have a special guest speaker. That is Rose Wallace, the wife of Jim Beck. And this episode is episode number 1. And it is very special. Why? Because I'm very excited. And so are you. I know for sure. So we'll start by introducing Jim Beck. Then Jim will speak about sharing mind for 35 minutes. And after that, there will be audience participation for 15 minutes, where you can talk to Jim and ask him any questions that you want. In the middle, if you want to add something, just feel free to unmute yourself and share whatever it is that you want to share. After that, she will tell you about Drema. He will share about her life, her work, her legacy. And then Jim will play Drema's tapes. After that, there will be one more audience participation, Q&A, about Drema, where you can ask Jim questions about Drema, about Drema's life, and her legacy. And at the end, we will finish on a very high note by playing Sid's tape on thought. And then it'll be time for us to say goodbye for episode number 1. So now, I would like to introduce Jim Beck. Jim Beck is one of the original students of Sydney Banks. He worked with Sydney Banks for many years. Jim is now a 3P coach, a 3P practitioner at 3PGC, a volunteer at Heartfelt. And if you want to get in touch with him, you can go to saltspringconsciousness.com. Again, I repeat, that is saltspringconsciousness.com. So ladies and gentlemen, here I present to you the speaker of the show, Jim Beck. Hello, Jim. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Graham. It's indeed a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Jim.
I want to thank you for all of your efforts in putting this together. It's been very exciting working with you, and it's been a privilege. And I really owe you a lot for your help in creating this series and making it happen. I was talking a little bit before we officially started, and that was regarding sharing. And I guess it's the obvious, but in order for sharing to happen, it's not just one person. It's one person reaching out and another person receiving, and that person perhaps reaching out again, and it goes around, and the energy can go around the room in that way, and it can be done in silence as well as in conversation. And whether it's in the Heartfelt Presence Zoom room, or whether it's on a webinar like this, or whether it's people just sharing one-to-one or in any other setting, the ideal goal is to raise the level of consciousness in the room as part of that, everyone that's involved in that conversation. And so it's a team effort. We do it together. And I have a deep appreciation for the contribution that everybody in the room can make. And the topic of today is sharing mind. Mind is everywhere. Mind is, we are of mind. Mind is in us. We are part of mind. All of us are part of mind. You cannot be part of mind. The beautiful thing is that we can actually access mind and receive guidance for anything that we find important. Mind is spiritual. Mind is the ultimate of spiritual. And there's a very interesting thing that Sid shared in The Missing Link regarding mind. And that is the idea that there is two minds. He clarified that there's not really two minds. But in sharing the 3P, oftentimes people point out that we have an intellectual mind and a, an inside mind or access to mind, as if they're separate things, and so we tend to want to deny the intellectual mind or put it in a place that's not part of mind itself, and get this idea of two minds. Two minds can't work because it's counter to oneness. Two is not one. There's a separation. So Sid's explanation was it's one mind used in two different ways. Now you have oneness again. The secret is to harmonize our thinking mind with mind, thereby recognizing the misuse of mind, in a sense, recognizing that we get thinking ourselves into problems, that we get thinking ourselves into depression, or that we get thinking ourselves into all of the psychological problems that we're dealing with. So we try to slow down that thinking mind. We try to control it. We try to have it not work. It's there. When we get an insight, it comes to us through our thinking mind. It originates in source. It originates in universal mind. But we interpret it through our beautiful instrument of intellect. That strikes me as being misuse of free will. And that free will is where, again, we have a commonality. We all have free will. We are all created equal in that we have access to our free will. We can choose to go off on our own tangents. And in the minute that we do such things, we create confusion for ourselves. When we let that go and just let mind work for us, then we're making a higher choice. So there's one level of communication, which is language and words. There's a purer level, and that's in sharing feelings. Language and words are wonderful. They can spark these beautiful feelings. But the reason I say they're less pure is we have, many languages. We don't understand all languages. We're again not quite into the depth of oneness that we are when we're in the world of feelings. We love being in the world of feelings. We gravitate towards the best feeling, the ultimate feeling, the simplest feeling, the most unified feeling, the feeling of oneness, which is the feeling of love. Whenever we think we have a problem, a vital decision to make, an important decision, something that we are frightened about, nervous about, agitated about, and sometimes this happens, actually all the time. There may be many of these things churning around, all caught up in content and creating confusion for ourselves. We've all got access to mind to solve all this, to let it simplify. And the problem is that most of us don't know that. Most of it think of it as a hit or miss thing, or they don't really want to understand it in a sense. So no matter who we are, we all upon occasion have insights. These are kind of thrilling things in a way. For some reason, I just had a hunch, and I followed my hunch, and I was right. And then we go on re-entering the world of confusion. I just had a feeling. I knew it was like that. I didn't follow my feeling, and look, it came out the other way around, kind of in a confused way. One story that happened for me. We were on vacation in Hawaii, my wife and 3 kids. We had booked a condo for 1 month, and we had a great time. And after 2 weeks, we were allowed to, the laws were such in those days that you didn't have to accompany your children home. Our son was 13, I believe, and we wrote a letter to show to customs people and immigration people, and our friends picked them up in Canada. So we sent the kids to Canada, back home, so that we can have 2 weeks on our own on Maui. And the first day they were gone, I woke up all excited, not knowing why. It was so great to be here. It was so beautiful to be there. I was, just full of energy, etc. My wife was still sleeping. I went out on the lanai. I picked up the Maui News. I started reading the want ads, looking for jobs that I might do if we could move to Maui. We wanted to move there. We didn't just want to be on vacation there. So here I go. There was lots of jobs, at least 3-4 jobs that I thought I could get. So I got all excited. It was, looking back, this was an insight. I woke my wife up, and with all this enthusiasm, I figured out we can move to Maui. I don't see why we can't move to Maui. There's lots of jobs. I could get jobs here. We could make a living here, and why don't we do it? And her response, I love it. Let's do it. Let's go for it. All right. So we thought this and that, and as it turned out, we knew a few people that lived on Maui, another couple, 2 other couples particularly, and we got a hold of one of them and went out for breakfast. And this fellow was starting a new business, and we made a pitch, and he was all for us coming and joining into his business. So, whoa, I've already got a job. Sure, there's certain steps involved, but let's take these steps, whatever they are. And that was that. So that night, as it happened, Sid and Barb Banks were also on vacation, and they invited us over, and they were going to take us. They were taking us out to dinner, going to Lahaina. So we arrived there, and we went in, and we were having a chat as they were getting ready to leave, and I broke it. We've got a way we can move to Maui. Barb turned around and looked me right in the eye. Far out. My God, it just filled me with, that love that came. Sid, a little more conservative, that's a great idea. But what you got to do first is go down to immigration and see how you do it. So that was that. We got in the car and we started to head to Lahaina. Well, as we were leaving the parking lot to get onto the road, Barb turned around in the car, same thing, right in the eye. Isn't it wonderful? All you've got to do is put out the thought and wait for it to manifest. That was a zap. My reaction, yeah, that's inside my head was going, what? You put out a thought and you wait till it manifests? What? This was an insight. It was also another step that you could actually access mind on demand. We went ahead. We went to immigration. We went home. We contacted the American Embassy, and we got forms. And they guided us. And this happened. We were back there in August, and we were actually living on Maui the next January. Something that was absolutely mind-bendingly impossible. I don't know anybody I would have to think really hard to think of any Canadian that actually immigrated to the United States. It wasn't that easy, but there were steps. As it was revealed, I had a connection through my mother, but that connection was there for all of my siblings, and some of them wanted to do it, but they didn't believe it. It wasn't in their reality. So life goes on. There may have been other instances that happened like that, but they were few and far between. Even though I had accessed mind and it had worked and I had felt it, it was not really part of me. I did not really rely on it. I did not really have that trust in it. I did not really have that faith in it. So fast forward 40 some odd years to about maybe a year and a half ago. That's when I really started to go deeper into what this is all about. Maybe even in the last 3 months, it's been happening deeper and deeper. And by that, I mean, I brazenly access mind, often on a daily basis. The fact that we're here in this room is a result of my accessing mind and it manifesting. I mean, who goes around and puts it out, looks for somebody to interview them? Less than a month ago, I felt, it's been a year since I've been on Heartfelt Present. I love it. I will be continuing to do it. I love sharing. That's all part of growing, as part of what we're doing here, etc. But now I came to a point where in my silent moments, I would realize that there was more. I had done a webinar back in November and I really loved it. The feelings were incredible. I love speaking and I love the feelings. But there it was. Do some more. Do more webinars. So a discussion with a couple of friends, a couple of contacts, a couple of phone calls, and I was being interviewed. Curran, Omar, two great guys, both opened up to me, and we had some beautiful interviews. Omar had two. Curran had two. Omar had one. They were wonderful, and they were as a result of accessing mind, and the answers coming, going quiet, and the answers coming, and feeling it, and acting on it. And as a result of those first three, not that long ago, here I am in a series of 5 webinars. My goodness. Also acting on mind. And in each one of those webinars, I've had to access mind in the moment. Even today. It's nothing special. We can all do it. We all do it. We don't always know when we're doing it, and we don't rely on it, or we don't accept it as being available 24/7. All of our problems, all of our anxieties, all of our depressions, everything, and everything that is collateral damage from those things, stress, can all be alleviated by going quiet, calming down, and allowing mind to appear. It's verified for me in every book that Sid's written that has a character. The Missing Link has no characters, That's not to say it's not available in reading The Missing Link. It's deep, and just from reading the book, you can be accessing mind. But Second Chance, Quest of the Pearl, Dear Eliza, The Enlightened Gardener Revisited, they all have a wise person. And the wise person always takes a moment to clear their mind, clear their thoughts, and let mind appear. And then they answer. You look at the best speakers of 3P, they seem to do this practice too. Kelsey Spittle has a book called Mentored by Mind. Chip Chipman accesses mind. Jan too, of course. We all do. We all have it. And the more we know it, the more our consciousness has increased. Because it's another measure of a level of consciousness going up. You become aware of the deeper places. It can happen in a very simple situation. A few days ago, a friend of mine and I had planned to go for a walk together, and we had a talk the night before to make our plan. And as it turned out, his partner had COVID, and that information was shared, and fine then. But there was no change made. There was just ignoring mind and agreeing. And when I got off the phone, my wife said, "Well, if you're going to do that, I want you to take your own car, because you could be putting us at risk if you're too close." And I didn't want to hear it, because that would mean I would have to make another phone call, back out of it. I was reluctant. So we went to bed uneasy. Early in the morning, I wake up. How? Are you crazy? There's nothing wrong. There's no shame in changing your mind. Do the right thing. So I made the call. I left the message. Felt the weight go off my shoulders for having gone with the flow. Understood. And shortly thereafter had a call from the wife. So relieved from their end of things that choice had been made. And that's mine. That could be a big thing, but we have these situations so often where we make a choice, the wrong choice, you might say, that will have ramifications that who knows how deep they can go. When you play around like that, when you don't follow your inner voice, the voice of mind, you're digging a rabbit hole. You're following things. If you don't answer, sooner or later, you're going to have to answer, and you will be suffering repercussions for not having listened to your heart. It's always there, folks. It's always there. It's very easy, but our thoughts may make it hard. That's an example of being in harmony with mind or being in disharmony with mind. And when you're in disharmony with mind, then you feel the result of that, the direct feeling of that. So I'd like to spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about Dreama Odom, and then I'd like to take a break and open it up to you folks for any questions or comments that you might want to share. I just want to tell the one story about Dreama. About 20 years ago, we knew Dreama in Maui. She was one of our best friends. We spent a lot of time with her. My wife and her were very, very close friends. And her and I were also close friends, but, as together. Such a wonderful girl. She had been one of a cadre of nurses, healthcare workers, social workers, psychologists that started listening to Sid back probably early 80s, 1980 perhaps. And they were in Florida. Many of them are top people in 3P to this day. And Dreama, that's where Dreama started. And she worked in 3P for a number of years. And then she moved to Maui, and she was nursing. And she had a job at Maui Memorial Hospital at this point. She had worked in every aspect of nursing virtually, but she was a psychiatric nurse at that time. Anyway, about 20 years ago, she got cancer, and she was having it was tough, and she was feeling as though like her life was ending. She had had a mastectomy. She'd had the other treatments that they have, chemotherapy or whatever it is. And she came, we were together for some reason. And she asked me if I would help tape kind of a legacy tape, a farewell tape for her to share 3 principles as it had affected her in her life. So we did it. She came over to our place for a number of occasions, and she would tape various parts of this story. I call it Dreama's story. Her name was Sue. Most of now I go Dreama Sue. She was Sue when we first met her, but by the time she passed, after she got married, even for about 2 years, it was Dreama. So if anybody's wondering who Dreama Odom is, and you didn't know her name had changed, she was Sue. It's a beautiful story. One tail end on it is we got a call from her right, in her last days, and come on over. Want you guys to come over for dinner, and Sid and Judy are going to be there. They're here. So that gives you a measure of the respect she held within that community at that time. It was actually Friday night. She died on Monday. And so we went. And of course, it was a poignant scene. She was under a lot of medications. She was a little bit, foggy, but still presenting love, constantly. So thrilled to have Sid and Judy there. Weekly walking across the room and picking up a chair, trying to pick up a chair to take it to the table. I mean, in service still. And I had the privilege of walking over and helping, taking the chair. And then one last farewell. And I told her I loved her. And we embraced. And just a wonderful experience to have known her and to be thought so well of by her as to be present for that last gasp, you might say. Anyway, I'll read a little bit more of this after I'll read about a minute that I had written for her to introduce her story. And we will play it about 12 minutes every one of our 5 episodes as until it'll be completed. Now, Corinne, if we could open it up for questions, I think it'd be a good time to do it.
All right. It's been a wonderful conversation with Jim. Thank you very much, Jim. If anyone has any question, feel free to raise your hand or ask a question on the chat or speak directly to Jim. And now it's all up to you. Harry, would you like to add something?
Yeah. When Jim you were talking about this feeling you had with Roz, where she had an opinion and another opinion. What I loved about that is when Sid talked about addiction, which is an area that I'm quite deep into, he said the answer was changing your mind. And even though the simplicity of a little argument, not an argument, two different individuals have a point of view, it's still the same essence, the same answer for addiction, disagreement, and every other problem that we have in our life. And when we change our minds, we step away from the personal mind, and as you mentioned, it harmonizes with the universal mind. And thus we catch a whole brand new feeling. And as it says, we uncover it rather than discover it because it's already there. So I love that, even though that's such an ordinary example, I just loved, that's what struck me was how something so small would solve the same thing as something so big in our minds. Just change your mind. And the other thing that caught me was when you talked about thought. Sid once said to me, if you have a thought and you hold on to it, no matter how long, if you wait, it will come true. And I'm going to tell you with all sincerity that Jim and I are a product of that. Because when Jim waited, he had a thought, not only a thought of going to Hawaii, but a thought of how we could share. And he held on to it and he never let it go. And eventually it manifested. He had the wisdom to wait. That's a beautiful thing, Jim. I really think that's a beautiful story.
Thanks so much, Harry. I've really enjoyed working with you in the past year and a half. I've watched you grow, and I've grown as well.
I felt it was spiritual, Jim. The moment I knew Jim before, and we had a nice relationship, but not an intimate relationship. Everyone on Salt Spring had a bond to each other, everyone. And that was undeniable, that spiritual bond of love that we all had. But on a personal level, when I heard Jim, when he started to share, wake up, I saw two things. He loved to share. It had inspired him. And the love of his wife was leading him into new horizons. He had found something where he could share his wisdom with another person. And the beauty of those two coming together, it was so angelic. It was so sweet. And she embraced his love. And of course, it took his heart away. And then he just transferred that sharing with her. And then he wanted to share that feeling with other people. And he had. And I only told him one thing. I said, don't be like the other practitioners. You're a teacher. Be a teacher. And he became that, but not in the way I teach, in the way he teaches. And that's really a big message. Be yourself, people. Be yourself. Don't try to copy anybody else. The essence of mind is, the personal mind is unique, with unique gifts. That's what makes us unique in this plane. And on the perfect level, we're all the same. So thanks, Jim. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely.
Right.
All right. Does anyone else have any question to ask Jim or Harry? All right. So feel free to unmute yourself and speak. Victoria. All right.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks Jim to share your story and your nice life and experiences. I'm new this in this group, so I met with the three principal only 3 weeks ago, but it was totally life changing because since my childhood I felt within me that I wanna give something to the society or to the humanity or to people where it will be a huge impact. And now that through my life and through all of my journey, and I continuously searching and try to find that missing link, and I feel that with these 3 principles, that is the one what if I can share this experience with others and share this 3 principles with others, this is how I can have the biggest impact. So it was totally life changing for me in the last 3-4 weeks. What I experienced, it's hard to believe that now I find the answer that why I felt this all of my life.
That's beautiful.
So this.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. You are a great example for all of us, whether we've been in it for years or whether we're just coming into it, or whether somebody that watches this tape later on. A wonderful testimonial. Thank you so much.
No, thanks.
All right, if that's
All right. I was muted. I'm really sorry. And now I would like to ask Wendy to come and share something with us.
I'm interested. Why did you ask that? I'm curious.
Okay, actually, I was asking Wendy L. Williams, but if you are on,
beg
can you
your
share something
pardon.
with us? I'm sorry, I was asking Wendy L. Williams. Since you are on, can you share something that you have heard from Jim?
Oh gosh. Well, I had the pleasure of connecting with Jim recently and hearing more about a nurse. I'm a nurse as well, and I'm looking forward to hearing the wisdom that Sue has to share in this conversation. I'm in the conversation about the three principles with other healthcare providers, and just in general terms, this whole conversation of the three principles aligns so beautifully with how I've always been as a nurse, which is seeing people's ability to thrive despite health challenges, to find those places within where they can say, oh, I've broken both arms and I have to figure out how to brush my teeth. And they come up with an amazing way to brush their teeth, as an instance. So it's this conversation of the three principles and the inner wisdom that accompanies every human being universally, no matter what, no matter anything, has been such a life-affirming and professionally affirming thing for me. So I really appreciate hearing directly from somebody who was able to sit right there with Sid. So thank you so much for inviting me to speak.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much. All right, Alan would like to ask something, and here we go. Alan.
Hello, and thank you very much for letting me be a part of this. I really enjoy listening to you. So I actually have a question. I've been in this three principle community for about 2 years, and it's been life-changing, as everyone say. But I have one question that is, and actually you both you talked about it, and it's because I understood like this: the thought is coming up, and we cannot control that; it just comes up. But now you tell me that if you just hold on to a thought, it will be manifested. And for me, that gets in conflict in my head. Do you understand the question?
I think I do. So do I hear you saying that if you hold on to a negative thought that you manifest negativity? And
No.
if you have a beautiful thought,
Yeah.
that that will come to pass on the other scale of thinking. So basically, if your thinking is negative, then you do let it go. Don't give it any energy. Don't feed it. Just carry on as though it's not there really, and it will fade away. Don't give it energy. Don't rethink it. Don't overthink it. Just recognize that there we go again. There I go again in my thoughts. It happens to me. It happens to everybody that I've ever met. If you want to get into negative thinking, then you will suffer the consequences. And if you go to positive thinking, you will have those consequences. And if it's like the example that I gave, I thought that we would actually move to Maui when it seemed to be impossible, and it did manifest. That's pretty much all I can share about that. I feel that thought that I had, you will know fairly quickly whether or not you were thinking that it's, you've come up with something negative that is not going to be productive for you, or if by the feeling that you have something beautiful that you can put your thoughts towards. And if you find out, oh, I was wrong, look at the mess I'm in. I tried to go to Maui, and I found that I insulted somebody, or there's no way. I got crushed right away when I tried to do it. Well, then you can change your mind. And you can change your mind on the negative track. Just change your mind. It's not hard to change your mind. It's really easy. I found it a bit difficult to change my mind about going for a walk that might be put me at risk, and when I realize, stop forcing something that isn't in your best interest, and I was changed my mind, and it's that simple. There's another beautiful story that Linda Pransky shared, and I was, happened to be watching, and it was about a time when they came to Salt Spring to visit Sydney Banks, and she had been saving up a couple of questions for him that she thought he could help her with, and it went something like this. Said things aren't going that good in our business right now. It just seems like the harder we try, the less results we're getting. It's, people are not seeming to change the way we expect, etc. And it's really tough. And Sid looked at her and said, "Do you know how to be happy?" "Yes," she said. "Try that." It's that easy. It's that easy. Remember that one. I remember that one. I'll use that one. I'll use any of these good tips. But think about it. It's that easy.
Okay.
My marriage, another one was, the marriage is not going that good. We're getting farther apart instead of closer together. And my partner's, wants more time on his own, and I want this, and Sid turned again, the same cup of coffee they were having. "Do you know how to be happy?" "Yeah, I know how to be happy." "Try that." There it is. There it is. Too easy. It's too easy. It sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not.
Thank you very much.
It is easy. Thanks for the question, by the way.
Jim, can I add something just to that?
Certainly.
Yeah. On the Ellen, on the psychological level, what you said is 100% correct. But we have thoughts that come from God or from mind that are deep within who are part of us, an essence of ourselves. This is a deeper dimension of thought than the psychological level, the little mind thinking and what you do with it. And you have to be able to appreciate these God thoughts when they come out. They're you and your vision and your destiny and your world. And if you let those go, say you compromise it for money or whatever it is that we have, you will suffer greatly because you're not hearing you and what you are and what you. So the deeper dimension of thought is holding on to. The psychological is letting go. And that way you start to see, oh, I need a harmony between those two worlds.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Do we have anybody else who would like to ask Jim any question? Hafiz, Hannah. All right, Hafiz.
All right. So I don't know what to say exactly, but here you go. I love the way you talk about feeling, Jim. I don't know, there's a connection to your true self, I guess, and I guess a lot of your time in life you spend occupied with your intellectual, stuff and not giving enough appreciation to your feelings,
Definitely.
Yeah, and those are the ones that are directly connected to your heart, to your,
Yes.
and I guess the more you can live in that feelings, the more you go by your feelings, the more you can live in that, the more you're in peace with yourself, and the answer is, whatever you're seeking will happen if you just kind of
Get out
in, right?
Yeah, get out of the way.
Yes, definitely. Get out. It is. That's very true. And that's hard one to do, and you get a lot of trouble for that. But yes, if you can kick yourself out of it, that is the best, like the inner self. Here we go making differences. But, like you were saying, is when you talk about oneness, for example, you like your little mind, the ego mind and your big mind are not really separate. They're sort of connected, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're anyway, I'm getting a little bit of a tangent, but getting back to feelings, that's just wonderful if you can feel and share that, and not necessarily the words or the concepts or the ideas, and just hanging out with people and sharing good stuff.
Right on.
Anyway.
Beautiful.
That's right on.
Can I ask Hannah to add something?
Yes, you can. Hello,
Thank you.
everyone from Sweden
Hello.
here. Yes, thank you very much for being here. And I just feel really calm, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you. And what struck me today was when you were talking about your siblings, and you said something about that they didn't believe it, so it wasn't in their reality. And that just stayed with me. Yeah, that was so beautiful.
Thank you.
And of course, that's so true. So thank you for saying that.
Oh, you're welcome. It is. We are all in our own separate realities, and that is a fact. And to be aware of that helps a lot. It helps in understanding, people around you and where they're coming from. And so you don't need to pressure ideas if they're not ready for them. And you have understanding in their innocence, because they're working in their world, and that is their realm, and not for us to tinker with unless we're invited to share in that way. Thanks for your contribution.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Now, if anybody has any question, please feel free to ask. And now I would like to add something to the mind. What I think is that the mind is the universal mind. It is all that is. There's nothing but mind. And 24/7, it is always guiding us, showing us the way. No matter what problem we have, it is always guiding us. It could be about money, health, relationship, career, job, study, no matter what that is. This mind is all that is. It's always ever present, always guiding us. When I have some problem, and if I'm constantly thinking about it, trying to fix it, analyze it, I just get myself caught up in my negative thinking, and thus I suffer. But if I just let go of those thoughts, new thoughts arise. They show me the ideas, the solutions, and that is the miracle of this mind. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thanks, Brian. That's very wise.
All right. Thank you. Okay, all right, guys, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. And if not, we are ready to proceed. Anyone? All right, so I guess it's a good time for us to carry on. Now I would like to ask Jim to tell us something about Dreama, her life, her legacy, and then play her trips. Jim.
All right, thanks, Karen. We do need to get moving on, I'm sure. I wrote this, it's only one page long. It will concisely carry us into an introduction for the tapes. And then you will have the real thing. You will be able to hear Dreama's voice and what she has to share. Dreama Odom was a dear friend who consciously chose to honor the three principles by recording an audio CD sharing her story and her unconditional love. It is being made available soon in the form of 3 podcasts. The following is a copy of the script written to introduce Dreama. Just over 20 years ago, a few months before she passed on, Dreama asked me to record her story, hoping that the wisdom she had realized could be helpful to all receptive listeners, especially for nurses and other healthcare workers, as well as their patients and loved ones. Dreama, or Sue, as she was known at the time, was part of a cadre of professionals that opened up to the teachings of Sydney Banks regarding the three principles underpinning all human experience. She speaks from the heart, and she was a wonderful nurse who shared her loving presence with her co-workers, patients, and indeed with everyone she touched. Listen carefully for the feeling of her wisdom. It will serve you well. And with that, I'm going to...
Applications of mind, consciousness, and thought to nursing. Forward. Aloha. I'm from Hawaii, and aloha is a very special word here. It means many things. Hello, goodbye, but it has a deeper meaning. The true meaning of aloha is a feeling that comes directly from the heart. It helps guide us through our work, our life. It's how we connect with another person on a higher spiritual level. When we are in the feeling of aloha, we experience compassion and understanding for people. We look forward to being of assistance to others, not out of duty, but out of unconditional love. To me, these feelings make up the true essence and joy of nursing. I hope that as you listen to this tape, you'll open up your heart to the experience of the aloha feeling. It is through this feeling that the deeper meaning of what is being said will connect with your own innate wisdom. So aloha. Introduction to Mind, Consciousness, and Thought. I've been a nurse for 30-some years. My first job was working orthopedics, and then I moved on to pediatrics. Then in the late 70s, I worked surgical intensive care for about 6 years, and then went on to infection control. It was when I was in infection control that I was introduced to the principles of mind, consciousness, and thought. For the purposes of this tape, I'm giving you an extreme condensed version of the meaning of these principles. If you are unfamiliar with these principles, I suggest you read any of Sid Bank's books and listen to his audio and videotapes, which are excellent. The purpose of this tape is to connect these principles with the art of nursing, situations with other staff, patients, and their family. Mind. When we talk of mind, we're not talking about the biological brain or the intellect. When we refer to mind, we are talking about the mind being spiritual and the source of power behind life itself. Mind is not something you have to understand in order to access it. It would be impossible to understand it. But the important part is to know it's there. Like electricity, I don't understand it, but I know how to access it so that life is easier. Consciousness. It is the gift of awareness. It allows us to see the connection between our thinking and our experience, or reality. As our consciousness goes down, we lose that feeling of love and understanding. We have very little awareness of the connection between our experience and our thinking. People that are psychotic have no idea they are creating their own reality. The feelings of love and positivity return as our consciousness ascends and our level of understanding goes up. We have more insight that we are living in a thought-created reality. Thought. It is the tool we have been given to create our experience of life. We all have free will, and we each have the ability to create many different experiences. Just look at your own family. They will describe the same situation totally differently sometimes. Thought is the consistent factor between happiness and unhappiness. It is the source of our moods. So our big focus as we talk about these principles will be on thinking, and then how to create that shift in consciousness or understanding for ourselves and help to facilitate it in others. The following stories will help demonstrate how these principles apply in healthcare. Applications to healthcare. After doing an internship studying the principles, my goal has been to see how they apply to different aspects of nursing and healthcare. While working in infection control, I observed there was a connection between someone's attitude and thinking and their ability to heal and recover from major diseases and surgeries. I wondered if you could help someone not just think positive, but to shift in their level of consciousness or understanding. When people shift in their level of understanding, they would be less vulnerable to use their thinking against themselves. This would apply even in situations where they were going through changes such as cancer or even the experience of death. I cannot begin to describe how blessed I've been in my career as I was given the opportunity to work with the most incredible patients and they taught me. My job was simply to uncover the wisdom that was already there, but covered up by varying degrees by their own thinking, which was usually fear-based. It is wonderful and very gratifying to work with patients and families. However, if you help one nurse, just one, have a deeper understanding of how to maintain his or her own mental health and balance in the midst of dealing with the many demands of work and home, you have helped each person he or she comes in contact with. This nurse will be more equipped to keep in touch with his or her positive feelings of caring and wanting to help. It is through these feelings that we touch the very soul of another human being. To me, this is the most important area I will cover. Through our nature as nurses, we deal with a lot of pain, suffering, anger, fear, and stress on a daily basis. If we do not have a good understanding of what mental health is and how it gets covered up with our own thinking, we will lose our balance at home, work, or both. Therefore, it is vital that you learn it for yourself. Just like the old saying goes, physician, heal thyself. You cannot save someone from drowning until you learn to swim well yourself. Being compassionate and loving does not mean that you take on the pain and the level of consciousness that your patients may be experiencing. Just by keeping your own balance, you assist those around you. I can't reiterate enough how helpful the principles have been in allowing me as a nurse to do that. As a daughter taking care of her mom dying of cancer, as a daughter-in-law taking care of her mother-in-law with cancer, and as a patient myself. Another area I'm going to talk a little bit about is how these principles apply to working with coworkers. Many times the person having the hardest time is not necessarily the patient that we're dealing with, but maybe your coworker. And every person that he or she interacts with will be impacted. Sometimes our most important job is to be able to help that coworker get balanced, to get back in touch with the innate mental health that is inside all of us. Another area I will touch upon is the caregiver. What it's like to keep your balance through the situation of giving care to another human being without getting caught up in a lot of fear, anger, and being overwhelmed. The last area I will touch upon is my perspective as a patient, going through cancer myself, having been given a poor prognosis. It was my first time to walk the talk. Sometimes I lose my balance, but when you have a good roadmap or understanding of how our thinking works and are open to that change or shift in consciousness, you are able to recover with more grace, ease, and less stress. You develop less tolerance for your own negativity. This allows your immune system to work at an optimum level. You realize that you can have a good experience of life regardless of your external circumstances. You just start seeing cancer or whatever it is as another event or situation in life. You don't have to give it a lot of thought or energy. More importantly, you learn to live in the moment with gratitude just for that. So I hope these tapes touch you in some area, because I feel that we all experience some of these things at one time or another. I hope that my experience with what I've gone through will make your journey easier and give you more hope and insight. Applications on a personal level.
Sorry. That's where we need to end it today. So is there any discussion, any question about what you've heard so far from Dreama? Any comment?
Jim, I would like to ask you, how did you meet Dreama, and how was her experience with Sid?
Well, I first met Dreama on Maui. I had heard about these nurses and what Sid's work in Florida. I believe that's where they were working. It might have been, Minnesota or some other area in the U.S., but I believe it was Florida. I believe the first time I met her, she had come to Maui for perhaps it was the Maui conference. One of Sid's big deals on Maui back in those days. I don't know exactly what year that would have been, maybe 92 or something like this, 93. But really, it was after she moved to Maui, that we met, and I don't remember the exact time, to be honest, Karen. I just know that we, she fit in and became one of our closest friends. So we spent a lot of time with her. We would go visit her at in her condo. She would come and visit us. We played tennis down at her condo, one summer, and like that, just, a normal friendship, is what I would say. Although she was an exceptional woman, and we appreciated that. So that's the answer to that.
All right. And I want to ask you, she had cancer, and she was dying.
She died of cancer.
Yeah. So before she died, she came to you.
Yes.
To ask you to record these audio tapes.
Yes, she did.
So what was it that inspired her to record these tapes before she died?
I can't honestly tell you, Karen. Although she knew that I could do that because I had done the tapings for Second Chance and Quest of the Pearl, the first audio tapes. And so, she was involved as our friend and listened to them and knew that I had done that. And so I think that could have been something that's what was available to her. She could ask me and see what happened. And so she did. And I said, yes. Beyond that, I think it was just being the exceptional person that she was. And she knew she had learned a lot from the three principles, and that she had helped a lot of people because of the three principles. And as she was leaving, and she wanted to share, in a way, it's similar to the fact that, I'm not dying, but I left it a long time before I woke up enough to say, there's urgency here. I don't have that many years left in my life. I'm not worried about that. But how long are you going to not share? And so I changed my mind in that regard. And I think Dreama would have loved to have shared on it's something like this would have been wonderful for Dreama. She would have loved to share it on this kind of a format, but it wasn't there then. But what was there was me with my recording equipment, and I had a little sound booth, and she was, our friend. So, that's what she wanted to do as she was, in chemo and finished with her surgery. Her prognosis, as you hear later in the tape, was, as far as living another 5 years, it was about 5% or something like that. So she felt that she was on her way out.
Beautiful. Harry, would you like to add something about Dreama?
Just the fact that she's talking just before death about the experience and how death brings a different dimension to you. We did a talk not in a different format with Wendy Sagagis about 3 or 4 days before she passed on. And the impact of the feelings that she has had on us made that the greatest show in my mind that we ever did. She was so real. There was no pretense or sugar or anything. It was just the fact. And it just broke my heart. Dreama is the same. As you get deeper into what Jim is going to share, because I've heard it, is the bluntness, rawness of coming to that point. We talk about a spiritual reality. I talk a lot about a spiritual reality. It's not the same thing as facing a spiritual reality without form. And Dreama really captures that feeling. I'm really it suggests to all of you, come and listen to more of it. It will take you, because of where she is at. She is almost dying. She's dying. And in one level, I suppose we all are. I don't know if that, but I suppose.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sherry. And that is something wonderful. Someone dying of cancer, having no fear of death. And she also helped other patients cure cancer, get out of this fear of death, and live a happier life. All right. If anybody has any question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Or raise your hand. Hafiz, would you like to add something about Dreama?
No, not really, because I didn't really know her. But I don't remember the time that the nurses came out, and they were from Hawaii, and it was like a breath of fresh air, and they were so happy and cheerful. Do you remember that, Jim, when they first came out?
Yes, I do, Hafiz.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and it was the fact that it was like there were some more people from across the oceans, from a different culture. They were coming, and they could share the same feeling with us. We felt like we took to each other right away, didn't we, Jim? We just loved the weather, and then we had the opportunity to talk and maybe just show off a little bit, but they were so delightful, and and it was a treat to have a connection, like you forget that you have a connection to everybody in life, so you get into your nice little bubble and forget that every person you see is just like you. It's like spirit getting together with another human spirit, and sharing the same principles in life, here we are, like they're meeting all over the world, right? And we have something in common. And that's wonderful. Simplifies things. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to analyze or explain or anything. You just deal with another human being as another beautiful person, and makes life a lot easier. And the interesting part is that once you do that, you discover so much about the other person, right? Because you have nothing at stake, so you let them speak and to tell you the story, and just amazing. But different stories we have, and yet we're connected. Yeah, I like that.
Nice, Hafiz.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I'm at a stage in my life. I don't know, it's just being senior or something like that, but I work part-time at a grocery store, so I meet a lot of people. And it's amazing how much respect they have for you. Like you pretty well say anything and they would respond, they would, because I guess they recognize that you're the same person, like the same being, the same spirit, but they warm up to you, And once that happens, is really nice because then you can kind of relate. Anyways.
Thank you. Thank you, Hafiz.
So Dreama, no, but I felt the energy, I felt her love,
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Hafiz. All right. We have Mike. Mike, do you want to ask something to Jim?
Sorry, thank you. I don't really have a question. I just have a comment from, the invitation was to listen for a feeling. And to me, the feeling that I got was just joy. The joy of where she was sharing from and the joy of the fact of sharing. And I think, and what Hafiz just said about delightful, that just really came across.
Yeah, I love that about her tape, Mick. She's so easy to listen to. She's so the lady next door, kind of thing, and the kindness. You relax, you drop your barriers, and you let her talk. And I encourage, this is really the introduction. The next couple of tapes, particularly, get more into some of her stories, and they're beautiful. So come on back and hear more of Dreama. She's got a lot to share.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And does anybody else want to ask Jim any question or add something? Just raise a hand or unmute yourself. Maybe ask Jim about the mind or anything. All right, so I think we are good to proceed. Now, I would like to ask Jim to play the tape of Sydney Banks on Thought.
Excuse me, Karen, it's Feelings.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Feelings.
The tape is Feelings.
Feelings.
And it's about 21 minutes altogether, but we're only going to play maybe half of it today and save the rest. We'll finish it off on episode 2.
Episode 2, all right. So today we'll be playing Sid Bank's tape on Feelings. Today we'll play part 1, and part 2 will be played in the next episode.
Fear not. Fear not the greatest thing in the world. To try and hold it back for your own possession is absolutely, you haven't got it. You're not getting the feeling. It is not until you release the knowledge that the feelings come. And that's what you're searching for. Everybody on earth is searching for feelings. And this is what you must find, is beautiful feelings. You take an object and you create a feeling to suit the object. So take away the object, and all you're left with is the feeling. And it's related to nothing. It's just a feeling. And when a feeling is related to nothing, it covers all things. See? People are afraid of feelings. They're afraid of their own feelings. Find those feelings, and those feelings are the very thing that will give you all the answers. Those feelings are to make you walk in another reality. They make you see other realities. And the more beautiful the feeling, the better the reality. Because we're controlled from feelings. That's why a person who's very, very mentally sick and in real distress. That's why he is where he is. And the knowledge that you people know can take people from there out very easily. But you must talk the honest truth that you know. Don't compromise to anybody. Always talk your highest, because if you don't, you're just saying that truth isn't real. See, to not to talk truth about inner self, when you're asked about it, is the very worst thing that you could possibly do. Because it makes all the knowledge that you've got useless. There's just a little missing link, but back to that missing link. Just to how you switch it on, put your knowledge into high gear so that you can get those beautiful feelings and you can get that knowledge that you've been searching for. Because once you get the feelings, that's it, that's the secret, get the feelings. And when the feelings come and they're accepted, then it will bring you the most perfect psychology, psychiatry, theology, philosophy that you've ever known in your life. This is where it's all hidden. That's where it's hidden. With those are wise men that they knew the secret, But each one taught differently. The one would be taken as a philosopher, one would be taken as a so on and so forth. If you listen to all the details that surround each person, they're all different. So the whole story is different. But if you take all away the details and just listen to the very essence of the truth that they were talking, here lies all the answers. Here lies the secret of turning belief into fact, and turning fact into actual reality, an existence where very few people know exist. But it's still here. It's just a conscious change. A change in a level of conscious state. It's like when you were 12 years old, you saw the world different than what you see it now. This is the same thing, only much, much more. It's just a change of seeing, to see what really is instead of the imaginary what wasn't. And it's the what wasn't that creates the mental sicknesses. It causes all the unhappiness. It causes all our problems. All our problems. No matter what problem it is, that's what causes it. So we're really lucky. We're broken through. We should be happy about it. Instead of glum, like hanging on, you become happy because you're glad you found it. And the second you're glad you found it, you found a feeling. And this feeling is so nice, you say, wow, and then you start giving the feeling away, That's what it is. You find feelings, and feelings are with knowledge. Because you can't get that knowledge until you get the feeling. It's all in this feeling. It's inside the feeling. And the longer you keep in the feeling, the more knowledge you get. but not a negative feeling. A negative feeling is a sick feeling. It's a sickness of mind. It's a lost mind. It's a mind that doesn't know what it's doing. And anybody that argues the point that it's natural, I'd say yes, it's natural. As far as we know, natural here. But in true reality, it's the most unnatural thing in the world. It's insanity. And we're also insane that we don't know how sanity is. And the only thing that can bring sanity back is when the lost mind finds its way home. That's where sanity lies. And the more you get towards home, or to the secret of life, or the whatever you want to call it, the happier you become. Because the more you start to live in feelings. It's a beautiful feeling automatically eliminates all bad feelings. And we create a beautiful feeling, and we think it's wonderful. We feel tremendous. And minutes later, we've lost all those feelings. Because we don't know how to hang on to a feeling. We don't know what a feeling is. You can't touch it. You can't write it. You can't talk it. You can't explain it. It just is. Nobody can explain a feeling. But if you find a beautiful feeling, it must be positive. And if it's positive, it's full of information. If you can hang on to the feeling. Because it's here you start to see life nicer, better, with more clarity. It's here you stop judging and analyzing. This is where the secret lies, in the feeling. And that's all we have to get out now. It's feeling. Very, very simple. It doesn't take many people to spread truth. Because truth is not a belief, it has to be built up. It's always known. It's always ever powerful. Always.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's true that it is our feelings that make the change. I would like to share something about my mother. We are from India, so my mother doesn't speak Hindi at all. Sorry, she doesn't speak English at all, and she doesn't even understand it. So she has OCD and some self-talk behavior. She keeps washing hands, washing dishes, and sometimes she starts dancing. So we have been trying medicines and pills for years. But one day, I played Sydney Banks tapes, and automatically, she quieted down. Her OCD behaviors, it all stopped automatically. The thing was that she did not understand a single word, but it's just the feelings that she had that made the change. Sid said, don't try to understand a single word I say. Just look for the feelings, the beautiful feelings. And this is the magic of feelings. Thank you.
I love that story, Kurt.
Thank you very much. Harry, would you like to add something?
I don't comment after Sid. Too deep. Too deep.
Oh, wise.
Alright, so guys, it's time for us to go. We'll end with the good feelings from Sydney Banks. I want to thank you all for bringing your joyful and beautiful presence with us. Thank you very much. If you want to get a hold of Jim Beck, you can get in touch with him on his website. Could you say website, Jim?
saltspringconsciousness.com.
Yes, that is saltspringconsciousness.com. Again, I repeat, saltspringconsciousness.com. I'll write that on chat. And stay tuned for the next episode. In the next episode, we're going to be playing Drema's next tape. In this part 2 of feelings. And it's going to be sharing consciousness. Alright, everyone, I'm going to leave the website of Jim here. And take care. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you.